France is still France. There is the Eiffel Tower, the Champs-Élysées, cafes on every corner, and of course, one thing the French still do exceptionally well: strikes. But if all you see is romance, then what you're seeing might only be the postcard version of France. Because the real France is facing something far more complex. Its population is shrinking, its society is aging, immigration is rising, but integration has not kept up. Let's start with population. France used to be one of the few countries in Europe with a relatively strong birth rate, but that advantage is fading. In 2024, around 660,000 babies were born in France, down significantly from the peak around 2010. The fertility rate has dropped to about 1.6 children per woman, well below the level needed to sustain a population. So what does that mean? It doesn't mean France is disappearing tomorrow, but it does mean the country's demographic engine is slowing down. Fewer young people, more elderly, and increasing pressure on the workforce. At that point, immigration is no longer just a cultural issue. It becomes an economic one. Now let's look at immigration. According to France's National Statistics Office, immigrants made up just over 10% of the population in recent years, a noticeable increase over past decades. So when you hear claims like a certain group already makes up 15% or 70% of babies in Paris belong to one group, those numbers should be treated carefully. France does not officially track population by race or skin color, so precise claims like that often lack reliable sources. We can talk about demographic change, but we shouldn't confuse speculation with facts, because the real issue isn't simply that more people are arriving. The real issue is that change is happening faster than the system can adapt. Education, employment, housing, identity, these systems haven't kept pace. Take the Paris region as an example. In central Paris, there are jobs, wealth, global connections, but many lower-income families, including immigrant families and their children, live in the suburbs, the banlieues. These areas are not all the same, but in some neighborhoods, there are long-term challenges: higher unemployment, fewer resources, limited mobility, and a sense of separation from the rest of society. This is where integration becomes difficult. Because integration is not just about living in the same country, it's about going to the same schools, working in the same spaces, sharing everyday life. If a young person grows up in a neighborhood with fewer opportunities, weaker schools, and limited access to the job market, it's not that they don't want to integrate. It's that the path into mainstream society becomes harder to reach. France's overall unemployment rate may be around 7%, but for some immigrant communities and their children, the challenges in accessing stable employment are well documented. Then there was 2023. After a police shooting involving a teenager in a Paris suburb, protests spread across multiple cities. Thousands of vehicles were burned. Tens of thousands of police were deployed. It wasn't just about one incident. It was a spark that ignited deeper frustrations, tensions between communities and police, a sense of exclusion among some youth, and a growing national debate about identity. And then there is the welfare system. France has one of the most comprehensive welfare systems in Europe. It protects people, supports families, and helps prevent extreme poverty. Supporters say it maintains social stability. Critics argue that, in areas where jobs are scarce, it can sometimes weaken incentives to work. So France finds itself in a difficult paradox. On one hand, it needs immigrant labor. Many essential sectors, cleaning, construction, care, transport, depend heavily on it. On the other hand, it has not fully solved the challenges of integration, education, and social mobility. So the issue facing France is not as simple as too much immigration. And it's not solved by simply celebrating diversity either. The real challenge is deeper. France needs people, but fears social fragmentation. It believes in equality, but faces real disparities. It promotes a shared national identity, yet not everyone feels equally included in it. This is the France you don't see. It is not collapsing, but it is under pressure. And the real question is not whether France will change, but whether it can find balance before the pressure becomes something more. Because governing a country is far more complicated than cooking a perfect French dish. At least with food, you only need the right ingredients.